Packers win. Wow. What a game, what a game, what a game. So, sometimes the underdog wins. I would say that the Packers probably were the underdog in this game. And my household is pretty excited and happy. Lon is stunned. Packers win today on
The Crazy Picker Life with Wheeler, Dealer, and Banana Peeler.
Welcome, fellow pickers and would-be adventurers. Dealer here with the Sunday Green Bay Packer edition of the Crazy Picker Life. Great game, lots of ups and downs. I'm sure everybody's seen it or heard about it by now. If you're an NFL football fan, Packers move on to play the Atlanta Hawks. Woo! Atlanta Hawks. Oh my gosh. Atlanta Falcons. I'm sorry. Dealer, the NFL outsider. Oh, back in my era, the Atlanta Hawks with Dominique Wilkins, Tree Rollins. Who else was there? I think Spud Webb was even there once. Atlanta Hawks, I would have watched them more than I would have watched the Atlanta Falcons. Anyway, Packers Falcons next week. All right, today, short topic. We're going to talk about change briefly. A lot of change out there. A lot of change in eBay businesses over the years. There's big changes in the Amazon business over the years. Most recently, I think they're having some sort of a change and shake-up over FBA storage. What you have to buy changes. What's available changes. For us, the weather changes. We went out to get out to eat supper tonight. We had a plan. We went out there, and our restaurant was closed. We went to another place. It was closed. There was only 1 or 2 places out of 20 in town that were open. Most of the town is closed down. We're under, I don't know, a bunch of rain all day. It is slippery and icy. It's turning to ice. Change, right? Change in the weather. Change in the business climate. Change in how you do things. We're aging all the time. There's some change to deal with. Kids grow up. That's change. People move, change locations, change jobs. All kinds of change. Well, really a couple of things to talk about here, okay? I wrote some things down because I don't feel like my brain is super tuned today. No caffeine today. Whoa. Change. Not sure I like that one. So, let's talk about mostly business, okay? Why is it that business is so much different today than it was in the 1950s or the 60s or the 70s or the 80s? Or maybe a better question is, how many businesses have been around for a long, long time? Not that many. There's examples everywhere, but if you talk to people, really talk to people, you'll find out that a lot of people tried to run a business at one time in their lives and it didn't work out, or it didn't work out for a long time, or it didn't last 10 years or more. A lot of businesses fail. Now, a lot of businesses don't even get off the ground. That's a little bit different. Businesses that have been around for 10 years or so and then fail, mostly it's because they failed to change. They didn't change with the market. They didn't change with the time. They didn't change as they grew. They didn't change as they declined. Something changed, you know? So I'm going to talk about being proactive with change. I'm going to talk about the need to change, the want to change, and that most people wait. They wait. They wait too long. They want things to get better. They want something to happen. But over time, or even quickly, when that change comes and they've waited for something, they're not ready. They're really not ready. There's some kind of saying out there about, don't hit your head against the wall. There's also, what's the other one? It's the definition of insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting something different to happen, something to change, right? So along with the hitting your head on the wall thing, I guess if you hit your head on the wall enough, something different might happen. Your head might break or the wall might break. But really, you're just hitting yourself head on the wall. That's pretty much what you're going to be doing. What you need to do is back off that wall and think about a different approach. Change your approach. If you're trying to get through the wall, you might want to use something besides your head. If you're just trying to break your head, I guess you might be doing a pretty good job of it. Probably don't need to change. Maybe just pound it a little harder. All right. So, quick examples, right? When I was in my DVD business back in, say, 2002, 3, somewhere in there, almost 15 years ago, I probably did the DVD business for maybe a year. And I probably thought about it and set myself up on it for a few months before I started. And it was interesting because when I started the DVD business, there weren't a lot of used DVDs out there. There were probably some. But I bought from somebody who would sell to catalogs, somebody that would sell to retail stores. They were not that excited about the internet. And so there was an opportunity. That opportunity had been going on for a while. I just noticed it and I decided, hey, here's an opportunity. I happened to be on the tail end of that opportunity because big change was about to come. I don't know, I can't remember when DVDs came in heavy. Must have been in the 90s, I don't know. But there was a point somewhere around 2003, 2004, where DVDs for sale dropped drastically in price. And I think part of it was that Walmart decided to own the DVD resale business, and they lowered the prices and they put all the new titles in their stores. I can't remember, but I don't know how that whole shift happened exactly. But where I used to be able to sell a DVD for $12, $13, $14, they started to pop below the $10 thing, and from there it got crazy. And I think part of the reason it got crazy as Walmart reduced their prices and really entered into it is there were a lot of other places that decided to liquidate their DVDs. I was making at some point there like $1 a package profit. And if you did the math on it, you could probably, you'd spend 5 or 6 minutes per order from start to finish by the time you took all factors involved. And so you were going to make $10 an hour, $12 an hour, $15 an hour. And that was busting it. And that was like acting like a robot, right? Stuffing orders, getting your inventory super sorted, printing invoices, on and on and on. It just, and the problem wasn't that, hey, I can get bigger and outsource this stuff for less money and make it happen as I get economies of scale. Over a 6 or 8 month period, the change was it was getting worse. The margins were getting worse and worse and worse. So I saw the writing on the wall early on, even though I had only did that for a little while, and I got proactive. My proactiveness said, hey, this isn't working. You're going to have to change. It's changed. You're going to have to change. But the proactive, I didn't lose my shirt. I got out. Obviously, during the same time frame, there were many movie rental places that were closing. Sometime between then and now, a lot of movie rental places were closing. I think part of it was streaming was starting to come in. Netflix was starting to come in. DVD prices were going down. That whole thing was driving the market to lower prices per unit, and it was changing that whole market at that time. I was kind of caught up in that. But I was proactive. I liquidated my inventory. I didn't try to beat it into the ground. I didn't, look around going, what's happening? I'm just going to keep hitting my head against the wall. I got proactive and I got out. Now, I wasted some time, obviously, because I wasn't making that much money and I needed to make some money at that time. But it could have been worse. It could have been much, much worse. I could have woke up and said, well, if I just wait till tomorrow and start changing tomorrow, maybe it'll change for the better. I could have waited a week. I could have waited a month. I could have waited until I was out of business by force. Let's see, what's another example of change? Well, I sold high-end air purifiers, and the company I was with, I no longer was a direct marketer, and I got out of that. I made a website, and I thought about reviewing air purifiers and monetizing the website, having people visit, having links on there where they can click different air purifiers, all that kind of stuff. I put some links on there, affiliate links for eBay. And then I just started to realize, hey, there's this market for these air purifiers, buy, sell on eBay. And part of the change that was happening with this particular company was they were slowing down. Their distributors were not selling enough product. And so there was product sitting out there. I got involved and I bought their product and I sold it on eBay. I kind of linked it, right? Well, that went really well for a long time. Long story short, the company was gearing up to be sold to a bigger company, and they didn't like a few things that were going on out there with their dealers and with eBay and all that kind of stuff. And so they clamped the whole Vero thing on eBay, and overnight the change on eBay selling these air purifiers was drastic. Where there once was 500 listings at all times, now there was 12. And the 12 listings were just for replacement parts, which for some reason they decided to allow. And of course that changed my business. That one blindsided me. Now what I should have done is I should have realized that this market was volatile. I didn't see that. I didn't see this one coming. I was not proactive. It caught me blindsided, and I don't think I was waiting. I just was caught up in it. So I wasn't seeing the change that was going on. And that was my mistake. So let's talk about a different side of change a little bit here. As business goes along, as people get older, as health changes, as your vision changes, as your teeth change, as your athletic ability, your in-shapeness changes. We're mostly talking about business, but there's all these things in business too. I know a good example. Let's talk about Wheeler's computer. Wheeler likes to experiment with things. He built a computer a few years back, and it was an experimental build, right? He had it mostly right. But building a computer, having software in it, there's a number of variables. Things need to integrate. Windows can cause some problems. And so his computer was having some issues. And he didn't really have the money to take it down locally to have them sorted out, or he didn't want to spend his money on that. So he waited and waited and waited. And there was a desire to change, to get a new computer. There really was a need to change to get a new computer, but he waited, and then that computer died. He wasn't proactive on that point. Now he has more than one computer. He actually has 3, or he had 3. And so it wasn't affecting anything really except his video editing. The computer that he uses for eBay listing is a different one, and then he has a laptop that he goes back and forth on. So what he needed to do is he needed to make a change earlier and figure out how to do that. When he finally did change, we upgraded him on a computer, and life is good. He didn't realize how much stress and how slow that computer was and how many problems he was having. It was causing him way, way more trouble than it was worth figuring out how to get a new computer, something that wouldn't always break down. And again, I think the same with my air purifier story. I think he just got kind of isolated from what was going on and how it was affecting everything, and he just didn't recognize the change that was needed. It's all well now. Now he's got a new computer and he's making lots of videos, and I see that that's more fun for him. He's getting a lot more rewards. The old computer, I don't know how he does it, but he just lickety split, tore it apart, and sold off like 3 or 4 pieces, and that was that. Oh. Well, let's turn this around. I mean, I've got things that I'm changing by choice, right? And I've got things that I need to change in my business. One of the big ones that we're doing is we're going on the road. Today is day 500, Monday 499. The countdown continues. And so we're going to change the way we live. We're going to change the places we go. We're going to change some of the ways that we do business. We're going to change the places that we pick. We're going to change the places that we adventure. That's a lot of change, right? So what we've been doing a lot of, the first thing I did with such big changes on the horizon, the first thing I did was tell myself, okay, we need time to change. So I defined a time period of 500 days. And, when we started, it was like 520 some days, 530 days, whatever, with this idea, right? So I put a time frame in there, and then the front end of big change like that needs to be very, very planning intensive. And I know those of you watching are a little excited about this change. I mean, we're really excited here. I asked Lon, are you excited and why do you want to do this? And she said, it's time for a change. I'm like, hey, wow. Okay. I wondered why you changed your mind. Change, right? And so a lot of planning. And for those of you watching, this planning seems to be moving at a snail's pace. But the things that are going to happen aren't going to be happening on the surface for a while. A lot of planning, right? And then towards the end of this thing, when we get down there, I mean, we've got a trip planned in November to test some things out. But when we get down there, the changes are going to be popping off faster and faster and faster and faster. We're just working the plan. But with change, if you can be proactive about it, like this plan that we have, we're going to try to iron out, we're going to try to predict, we're going to try to forecast, we're going to plan as much as we can. You know, what do they say? Measure twice and cut once. We're doing all that. We're ahead of the curve of this change. We didn't just wake up and say, whoa, the house is on fire. Run out of the house, run into the van. That's it. We're going on the road tonight. You know? So, you know, why are we doing such a big change? Well, I think it's really the adventure idea. You know, we want to do some adventuring with the kids. So you've got to come up with, if you're going to be proactive, you've got to have a compelling reason to change. I think that's something else. 2, if your reason to be in, your own business is to make money, that can be compelling for a while, but it's not necessarily going to be enough to keep you in the game and keep you growing your business and keep you growing yourself and keep you changing along with all the change that's going to hit you to stay in business. If you're just in it for the money, I'm not sure that's enough. So whether you're going to go out and start an exercise program, or whether, and you haven't been exercising, whether you're going to quit drinking Rockstar like I did recently. I still drink coffee. I've been drinking Guru, which is organic energy drinks, but I'm just not drinking the full boat, 2 servings per can, full of junk Rockstar. If you're going to make a change like that, if you're going to quit smoking, if you're going to list 5 items instead of 4 daily, if you're going to put in a daily listing plan, if you're going to start picking in a new location, a new type of picking, a new product line, if you're going to do this change, I think if you're proactive about it, on the front end, you need to work out some of the reasons why and some of the details. Game it, write some things down, and then set yourself a timeline. Don't turn into one of these people that waits. Set a timeline, do it, and then go. Now, with our adventure, people say, oh, I know people are saying this. Nobody said it on the vlog yet. Maybe it must be realistic. It must, maybe our plan is so crazy that, nobody really thinks we'll do it. I don't know what. But 500 days, whoever thought of launching something 500 days ahead? That's a long time. That's 1.5 years. Well, my grandfather, he's no longer here on earth. He had some land in northern Wisconsin, up in Phillips County. And my great-grandfather actually used to live up there towards the end of his life. He lived up there, the last 20, 30 years of his life. He lived to 95 or 96. He was on this land by himself in his little cabin up there until he was like 90, 91, something like that. So my grandfather used to tell us kids, hey, we're going to build a cabin up there in the woods, right? Someday when things slow down, someday when we have time, a little farther along, when I don't have to work, whatever. He didn't really have a lot of excuses, but he talked a lot about building this cabin in the woods, right? Well, change happened. He got sick. He got sick in his 60s, and he was never able to realize his dream. Now, he lived to 76, but the last 10 years of his life, he couldn't do much, So, he didn't put, hey, in 500 days, I'm breaking ground on the cabin. You need to put a time frame on proactive change. Next week, Wednesday, I'm quitting Rockstar energy drinks. Well, that's not quite how I did it, but you can do that, right? And then you can say, up till Wednesday, I'm going to drink 10 a day. Oh, boy. So 500 days out, I put a time frame on there, lots of planning. I let everybody know. I let everybody know on this vlog. I let my family know. Of course, Lon agreed to it. I let the kids know. Here's the countdown. Poor little Elizabeth, she thought we were going to be going to the beach soon. I didn't want to be like my grandfather because I've talked about traveling. I want to travel. I want to adventure. I've been talking about this to myself since I was in my 20s. So, proactively, we decided to change it up. Now, you don't have to make as drastic of change decisions in your business. We made other changes in the last 5-10 years that helped us get to this point in our buying and selling business. We made a decision to change, move out of our basement, and move to a commercial location. That worked out pretty well. We moved from there to a bigger location, this location. That worked out pretty well. But we were proactive. We didn't wait until bad things happened in our home basement office. In fact, for some strange reason, when we got out of there, that's when the basement plumbing went. And that would have been catastrophic because our basement plumbing outgoing went and it was nasty. And if all our stuff was down there and we didn't have a place to go and all that was happening, that would have been bad. So we knew that there was a problem down there. We could smell it. Part of the reason we left the basement was because of the smells that were coming up through the pipes. We couldn't seem to figure that out. And keeping them flowing was not so good. So we sort of saw it coming. We saw the change coming and the need to leave. The other is we were running out of space. The other is it was really hard working at home with all the kids running around, especially in the winter. And we needed more space at home anyway. So change we did. You need to look at your business. You need to look at your life. There's things you want to change. There's things you need to change. And then there's probably the third category that you don't know about because change can hit you. You need to really stay tuned in with what's going on. You need to have your feelers out. You need to constantly be learning. You need to constantly try to be aware of what's going on. It's not that easy. But you don't want to get blindsided. If anybody watched the Packers game, boy, Packers are marching down the field. I think it was 2nd and I don't remember, 5, whatever, 3, 2nd and 2, whatever it was. But it was one of the last snaps. It was the snap that they took 1 or 2 snaps before when they hit the pass, the 35-yard pass, and the guy caught his toes on the in line and fell out. That set up their field goal. Right before that, you don't want to be caught like Aaron Rodgers running the other way, looking down the field, and man, he got hit hard. He got sacked. Now, he must have had adrenaline going through him because he bounced up and hit time. He called for a timeout. But that's being blindsided. You don't want to be blindsided. I've heard some people are being blindsided in their Amazon business right now. You don't want that feeling. So you got to have your feelers out. You got to always be paying attention. You got to develop a 1-year plan and try to keep developing that 1-year plan going out. You know? Don't get complacent. I'll tell you another thing that you can do, and this will wrap it up. Change is going to happen. There's going to be some blind sides, like when Aaron Rodgers, did I say Brett Favre before? When Aaron Rodgers got hammered from behind, and that was like, everybody's like, oh no, because then it was like 2nd or 3rd and 22, 32 yards they had to go. I don't know, whatever. It was bad. It looked like overtime was coming. You don't want to be blindsided, but here's the thing. That's going to come. It's going to come in your business. Shoot, eBay could close down. How many people could shift mentally to doing everything on Amazon or Etsy or some other platform right now? Doubtful that it'll happen, but I mean, things will happen, okay? Small ones, big one. Small ones, big one. It's like waves coming in. Problem, problem, problem. The waves keep coming in. Problem. Then all of a sudden there's a big one. Crisis. Problem, 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 crisis. That'll happen in your life and business all the time. Here's what you can do, though. This is important, and this is pretty much my last point. In order to weather the storm of problem, 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 crisis, problem, 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 crisis, you got to do the best you can do proactively on the things you can control. That means the things you need to change, you need to be working on them now. If you feel there's some things that you need to change, you need to have a plan to get those out of the way now, so that's not lumped on problem, problem, problem. I mean, if you're already needing to change this much, problem, 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 crisis. The crisis will push you over. Take care of those things that you feel you need to change. And then if you've got those all under control, consider making a plan to change the things you want to change. For me, there's things I need to change, and I take care of a lot of them. But there was a thing I wanted to change. I wanted to go on an adventure. I wanted to go on an adventure with my family before I'm old, they're old, you know? So I asked Lon, hey, let's do it. We're getting old. What are we waiting for? And I expected her to say, no. She said yes, so I don't know. What the heck? What am I going to say? I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been wanting to change for a while. I got Wheeler still here with me. So, take care of the things you need to change. Have a plan. Start working that. Take care of the things you want to change. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm saying something. I'm talking to the camera.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, I'm vlogging.
Ah.
You don't see the camera?
Nope, they called me.
Yeah. Funny. It kind of echoes back in here, so who knows. Wheeler's had his head in editing all afternoon. So, Change will come. Change is constant. One thing for certain is change. Don't wait for change. Be proactive. Take care of the things you need to change. Be proactive in your business and change those things you need to change. Have your feelers out. And then if you want to change something, small, medium, large, make a plan. Plan. Put a time frame on it. Change. All right, I feel pretty mellow. That talk was probably pretty mellow. Hope there was a few points you could use. You can certainly comment below. I do read all the comments. Except the terrible ones. I have to delete those. Oh my gosh. Okay, I have to bring this up. If you're watching to the end of this video, you're probably one of my regular viewers and probably one of my trusted viewers and whatever, right? It is hard portraying what's going on in my life and business through this vlog. In fact, I think sometimes there's things lost in the translation, but then there's some people who watch it and I don't know, but they get a totally different message than I feel it's giving. And some of the comments, I'm like, that's what this is looking like? Oh my goodness. Never ceases to amaze me. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the comments. If you liked what you heard, thumbs up. Try to get some caffeine tomorrow. Tomorrow's a postal holiday. There's no packing after midnight. There's no early morning packing. It's just going to be a school day for me and the kids. And then probably do a bunch of packing tomorrow night. I'll probably do that on camera and show you what we sold. I don't think we're having a super busy sales weekend, but we've got, standard sales have come in. Pick well, list often, dealer out.
Hey, Wheeler.
Dealer production.